Hi, my name is Craig Kausen. I'm the chairman of the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. If you would like to know more about the types of programs and events that we do with the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, watch the conversation here. Thank you. The Chuck Jones Center for Creativity was founded when Chuck was still alive in 1999, and really the whole in a nutshell, it was the question that came up pretty much between originally Linda and me, my mother, Chuck's daughter. How can the experience that so many people have had regarding Chuck, his persona, his philosophies on inspiring imagination and creativity? And so the organization continues to attempt to foster creativity and innovation through arts-based programs to allow predominantly young people, but a lot of different groups, really anybody, to find the creativity that exists that's unique inside of every person. And so to create environments, to create programs, to create challenges that allow people to find that, express it, and then learn how to use it in other parts of their lives. So that's really the goal of the entire organization. The programs for the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, which is really what the essence of the center is all about, is doing programs to have hands-on interactive environments. Now that we're back in person, it is about the putting challenges in front of people, putting a prompt, having a guideline for them to achieve something. And I don't mean to create an achievement like they've done a great job. It's more of, here's something to do. How are you going to do it? What's the experience of creating something? And they in a program with multiple people, it's not about having them do something the same as the person next to them. If the prompt is maybe a mammal, and everybody picks a mammal, and maybe there's reference materials, and then they get to have their own version of that, and the teaching artists are there to help them across the next steps of what they're doing. If there's any challenges, to be there to support. But it really is encouraging. If somebody says, well, what should I draw? Then the answer is, well, what do you want to draw? Well, what do you want me to draw? Well, what do you want to draw? And then it's like really digging down deep and finding the essence of something. If I remember, there was a program that was the prompt was transportation, and it was actually a seniors program, and everybody addressed it and approached it differently. And they had small groups, which is a big part of what we do. A lot of times is to do small groups. So there's collaboration, there's discussion, there's mediation, you name it, that are so critical. But then the people play off each other and come up with a goal, and then each person puts their own essence into it. And so to come up with, and one thing leads to another, and whether it's with a group or an individual, one thing leads to another. And those little ideas, if they're allowed to flourish, Chuck always talked about that those ideas come up, and as long as you don't kill them immediately with, oh, that's not a good thing, or if somebody else doesn't do that, then great ideas can come to fruition, and you never know where they're going to end up. So that is the essence of our programs, is to create that environment for the inspiration of that creative thinking. One of the things that people ask us quite a bit is why do you utilize arts so much in what you do? First of all, Chuck being a traditional fine artist, and then bringing an art form of animation, bringing an art form of writing and drawing, and all the things that he did as an artist throughout his lifetime, gave us a foundation and a guideline for it. But Chuck was very clear that creativity is not only in the arts, and arts does not mean creativity. They're not synonyms to each other. That creativity exists in every discipline, whether it be science or medicine or business or education, anything, that there is creativity that can exist in that. And so, but for the arts, it gives, there's no necessarily right answer. And I think that is something that if you're doing math, you can be very creative in math, but the goal oftentimes is to get the exact right answer. In art, Chuck always said, you can't be king of art. You can't be president of art. That each of us brings something unique. And so it frees the mind from having to believe that there's a right way to do something and a right goal at the end of it. It has to do with the process of doing it. And then you get to figure out, is this where I want to stop? Is this where I want to abandon this work of art? But it allows for lots of different types of thinking to achieve the goal of creating something. And so that, I believe, is why the arts in general are so freeing. And that understanding, that practice of finding and exercising the creative thinking that exists in all of us translates to other parts of our life. So if we need to solve a problem, if we get a flat tire in the middle of a highway where nobody is and there's no cell phone service, what do you do? I mean, solving problems that creativity will bring allows us to solve problems in our lives, in the world, in society. So that's how important these programs are, to teach, particularly the young people, how they can adapt through an ever-changing environment in our communities. People would ask Chuck, what his favorite characters are, and what is my favorite program, and that for me is very simple. I can answer that. I'm an engineer by training. It was my first career, and so Acme Inventions is my hands down favorite. I never did the 100,000 bad drawings that Chuck and his teacher at Chenard said you had to do to really become that drawing artist. I didn't do those, but I did have to solve problems my entire career throughout school. And so the idea of putting objects, and usually they're random things. If we go out to a university or a museum or a school, we ask them to gather up things from their environments for their community. We'll bring the standard stuff, whether it be wire or adhesives or whatnot. But we pile all of that in the middle of the room and usually there's a prompt, and usually there's, well, here's something we're going to do. It's not just a free for all. There's a discipline, and you've got 45 minutes to do XYZ as either a group or an individual. And the idea of taking a look at what's in front of me. And so for me to experience it myself and to go, how am I going to create a robot? And I did see a young man do it one time with his family, that to create something new that would solve a problem in their life. And he and his family created a robot that was designed to clean his room for him. And so it was an ongoing problem for him and his family that he didn't clean his room, but he created a robot. And you could see all of the things around and how they pieced it together and the way it would work, and that if it actually did the functioning, and it had a vacuum hose, and it had a disposal, and it had all these different things. And for me, that putting together the opportunity, and back as an electrical engineer, looking at the potential energy of something. What is the potential that's sitting here to put together to do something? And you ask, did it ever occur to me that was something special? Back, it must have been about 2009 or 2010. We were working with a group of high school students, and they went room to room experiencing different things. And ours was on the experience of creativity and really exposing them. And these are 15 to 17 or 18-year-olds, and there must have been 30 people in the room. And so down the whole middle of the table, there were all these objects and all this material, and they were given a prompt, and they had to work as a small team. And I remember at the end of it that, it was probably a 2-hour program, and the creations, the high ones, the low ones, whatever it was they were making, that there was so much energy in each of those groups. And I remember passing by one of the groups, and the young lady, she probably 15 or 16, and she looks at her friends and she goes, okay, this by far was the greatest program and experience that we've had today. I just don't understand why. And it was sort of that moment of like, why did we just do this? And the answer was because you got together and solved something, and you did something that was different and new and creative. And that you can take with you into other parts of your life. And she's like, oh, and you could see just lightness coming through her. And so, that was 15 years ago. And I still to this day remember the excitement of that sort of situation coming to life in one of our programs. one of the things that's asked is we do programs, and we've done programs in I don't know, 15 or 20 states that have trailed along with museum exhibitions. We now have regional centers in the Chicagoland area. We are starting a regional center in Central Florida. There are other pop-up locations that happen. There are smaller events that happen with the Center for Creativity across the country. And I'm asked as I go out and we do these programs, why, how would we start this? How would we do that? And the vision really started about 16 years ago, in that the idea was to model something here in Southern California, where Chuck lived and we are, and we call it the home base, and we cultivate programs here. But then the anybody out there who has the desire to bring the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity programs to their community, we work together to figure out what fits, because not every community does the same thing. It's not like we put up four walls and this is the way you do it. It's some people want to do it in community centers. Some people want to bring it into the school. Some people want to do it with autism groups. Some people want to do it with senior centers. That we have programs for just about everybody, and to tailor those, bring them to the community, whether it's one time or an ongoing basis, or training a group of teaching artists in the local community to bring them out. We've done that all throughout the time. And so anybody who's interested in bringing more creative thinking to their youth in particular, or certain groups within their community, we have the ability to reach out to the world to not only train, but oftentimes we can actually facilitate virtually now a teacher to lead with local volunteers. We've done programs that are very large where we have virtual teachers who then can actually see and communicate, because we have two-way communication abilities like we're doing. And so every community can use a little injection of creative thinking in their communities. So we're open to partnering with other nonprofit organizations or educational institutions, museums, to bring these programs to the world. So a lot of times we're asked, why is it that we reach out for donations and support from the community, and whether it's the local community or beyond? And the fact is that Chuck was work for hire at Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers owns the Looney Tunes, and they're gracious enough to partner with us to allow us to utilize the characters in our programs. And so that is a unique opportunity that we have to utilize really the history of these Looney Tunes, Chuck's genius and these characters that he created. But it's not like he's getting, or anybody gets, royalties on these characters. He doesn't own them. We never own them. So the idea that we need outside support, like any nonprofit needs community support in order to survive, is the same for the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. And one of the things that Chuck always talked about was figure out what it is that you want to achieve, what you love, and what you want to bring to the world, and then take a step forward. And that's what we've been doing for 24 years now, since the organization was created. And we don't know where the next step of funding is going to come from, but we believe that those in the community and companies who want to sponsor, and grant funders who believe in what we do, will come out as we go out and tell the story and help us to achieve more throughout local community and beyond. If you've enjoyed any of this information that you've heard today, or are inspired by the types of programs that we bring to the world, I hope you'll get involved. Come visit us at chuckjonescenter.org and sign up, whether it's to donate or get involved or bring programs to your community. So I hope to see you at a future event, and thank you for watching.